Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to uncover how ancient spiritual concepts about human speech actually align perfectly with modern forensic science. It's literally a journey from ancient sages all the way to modern courtrooms. And the connective tissue between them is something you use every single day.
Let's kick things off with a pretty wild question that bridges a mystery of human biology with a groundbreaking forensic discovery. Now, we all accept that our fingerprints are entirely our own, right? But what about your voice? When you speak, are you putting a unique physical stamp out into the world? The answer is a resounding yes. And understanding why starts with looking at speech through a completely different lens.
Section 1. Mantra Vidya and Subtle Consciousness.
To really grasp the sheer physical weight of our words, we've got to look back at an ancient framework. When you hear the word mantra, you might just picture some rhythmic chanting, but mantra vidya is actually a precise scientific mechanism. It's not just about making sounds, it's the process of deliberately utilizing the hidden, subtle power of speech and human consciousness.
So how does this actually work in practice? Well, Mantra Vidya essentially combines two core elements. First, it uses the science of subtle consciousness and the inherent power of words. Second, it relies on the inner purity and morale of the person speaking. When you combine those two things, they create a third, incredibly powerful divine force, a capability so profound that even immense physical tools and heavy machinery literally cannot replicate it.
Moving on to Section 2, the human machine and inner potential. To really grasp how powerful this human capability is, think about this brilliant analogy for a second. Comparing the human body directly to a massive industrial machine. To keep a steel factory running, you need heavy capital to build it, you've got to hire highly skilled workers to manage the machines, and you constantly need to feed it special fuel. But the human body? It's infinitely more powerful yet incredibly simple. It doesn't require a factory to house it, it doesn't need hired mechanics to run it, and aside from just your everyday food and water, it doesn't need any special industrial fuel. It is entirely self-sustaining and just packed with immense potential and capabilities in every single pore.
But here's the catch. Despite this incredible internal machinery, there's a stark contrast in how we actually use it. Most of the time, we just use this physical machine for basic animalistic purposes, right? Eating, sleeping, reacting to fear, mating. We're kind of just surviving. The spiritual, higher-level potential of the body is barely ever tapped into, and that is exactly where the concept of Yoga Vidya comes in. It represents the specific process meant to prevent this massive waste of human capability, allowing us to finally unlock those higher functions.
Section 3, the scientific power of speech.
Now we're moving from the broad spiritual potential of the body directly into the physical power of speech. Because this totally challenges our most basic assumption about talking. Normally, we think we're just using our voice to chat or to pass along information, but that's just the surface level. Voice is absolutely not just air being pushed out of your mouth. It's actually a powerful physical substance that contains an intense, highly capable electrical flow.
And if you think this electrical flow is just some neat metaphor, just look at modern material science. Scientists perfectly understand that invisible waves carry intense power. They harness this exact electrical flow to build the tech we rely on every single day: radio, television, and radar systems. They capture these waves to achieve incredible distances and communications.
This builds such a brilliant connection across history. Just like modern material scientists understand and capture the electrical flow of radio waves, the ancient spiritual thinkers, the sages, understood the electrical flow generated by human thought and emotion. By coordinating those internal frequencies, they essentially invented Mantra Vidya. They were basically acting as ancient engineers, harnessing the body's internal radar.
Section 4, the justice system problem. Evidence in courts.
Now, you don't just have to take the ancient sages' word for it. Let's look at a very real-world modern problem. Modern science has completely validated that sound is a physical substance. Just like any other material, we know it can be accurately measured, we can photograph its waves, we can record it on tape, and we can blast it out endlessly on loudspeakers. But here was the massive legal hurdle. Even though we had tape recorders, courts historically refused to accept audio recordings as definitive proof of a crime. Why? Well, imagine you play a tape in court. A criminal could simply shrug and deny it was them. They'd say, "That's not me," or argue someone else was just mimicking their voice. Because human mimicry is a real thing, tape recordings carried way too much legal doubt to be considered rock-solid evidence.
Which brings us to Section 5, the invention of the voice print as a forensic breakthrough.
This legal loophole desperately needed a definitive scientific breakthrough. To solve the courtroom problem, we have to look at the gold standard of evidence, The fingerprint. A signature can easily be forged, for sure, but a fingerprint cannot. It's fully authentic because no two people on Earth have the exact same lines on their thumbs. Thanks to an incredible invention by a scientist named Dr. Kirsta at the VoicePrint Laboratory, human speech was proven to have this exact same level of unique, undeniable authenticity. No two voices are exactly alike.
So the crucial point is how Dr. Kirsta actually proved this. His lab developed a method to capture and measure the physical substance of a voice from 3 specific angles: the length of time the sound takes, the vertical speed of the sound wave, and the loudness. By measuring those 3 elements, the laboratory translates the voice into physical lines, essentially drawing a precise picture of the sound itself.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why your voice is as unique as a fingerprint. Dr. Kirsta explained that it literally comes down to the sheer mechanics of human anatomy. Think about it. When a child first learns to speak, they are coordinating a crazy complex network of muscles, starting with the contractions in their lungs and throat, pushing airflow up to be modulated by the palate, shaped by the tongue, and finalized into a unique acoustic output by the teeth and lips. The specific way these anatomical parts work together is entirely unique to that one individual. Because of this incredibly subtle, microscopic difference in how we use our facial and throat muscles, your voice carries a signature that absolutely no one else can perfectly replicate in a voice print machine.
Finally, Section 6. Sound waves as physical evidence in modern forensics.
This wasn't just some fun laboratory experiment. It changed forensic science forever. Thanks to this technology, countless criminals who managed to avoid leaving fingerprints and who successfully hid from cameras have been caught and convicted. The days of a suspect standing in court and simply denying their voice on a tape recording? Completely over. The voice print acts as an undeniable physical net.
So, what does this all reveal? It shows a fascinating, unified truth. Modern forensics has scientifically proven exactly what ancient texts suggested thousands of years ago. Sound waves spreading in the air are not just empty wind. They are a tangible, measurable, physical substance that interacts with the world in a definitive way.
Which leaves us with this final, powerful thought to consider. If modern science has proven that your voice has enough unique physical force to be measured on a graph and literally lock away a criminal, what untapped power are you ignoring every single time you speak? If the ancient sages were right about the electrical flow of our words, perhaps we should all be a little more mindful of the incredibly powerful physical machinery we're operating every time we open our mouths. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep questioning the hidden physics of your everyday world.